was looking through my mementos the other day, and I found this diary that I kept when I was 9 years old. Here is something that I wrote on May 31st, 1935. Dear Diary, it is cold and rainy today. I usually started out my journal with the weather. I was born and raised in North Dakota on my grandfather's ranch, and life really depended upon how the weather was, whether it was raining, whether it was hot, whether it was cold. It decided our days for us. Daddy and my brothers are monkeying around with the car. Mama is fixing some dresses for her and Arliss. Yesterday was Memorial Day, and we went to town. Sure had a lot of fun. Well, June 16th, 1935. Dear Diary, foggy fair today. We went to the Methodist church. They sang some kind of songs. We always hated going to church, but we had to go whenever my grandfather heard us swearing. I never heard him say anything other than confound it, so anything over that was a swear word. So then my parents said, okay, we'll take the kids to church. They had an argument about what church to go to. My mother was Lutheran, my father was undecided, so they decided on the Methodist church. But my mother said, but we have to make a donation to the collection plate, and we don't have any money. My father said, don't worry, get the kids cleaned up, I'll take care of that. So when we got in the car, ready to go, here comes my father with something in a gunny sack. It was a live chicken that we took to church for the minister. We're laughing all the way to church with the chicken in the back seat, squawking away.
The sky is the only roof I have over my head, and when I'm weary, Mother Nature makes me a bed.
Here's a picture of my mother, and I loved my mother very much. She made all of the clothes that she wore and I wore in this picture, including the hats. The reason I'm talking about this picture is because something really terrible happened. If you look at the haystacks in the background, my story is around these haystacks. These haystacks were for the range cattle to feed from, and they fed on the haystacks all winter, and then in the spring the hay was gone except for little mounds on the prairie that my father and my brothers would burn up because there was green grass for the range cattle to feed on. Well, anyway, on this certain day in May, my mother and her sister were painting the house that we lived in, sewing curtains, spiffing it up. My brother and I decided we had to do something too. So we went out and raked together little piles of hay, and we were going to burn it. My brother said, go in the house and get a match. And I said, no, I'm not supposed to. He said, go, or else. So I ran in the house. I was only 2 years old, got the matches, brought it out. We lit the little haystack, and a fierce west wind came along, and guess what happened? The house got burned down. There was no way to save it. There was no water in the house. The pump didn't work. My father had gone to school to pick up my older brother and sister, and he could see a dark cloud coming from the ranch site, and he knew what it was. And so I went and sat on a little hill near the house, and I sat there waiting. Isn't somebody going to come and spank me for this? Nobody ever did. They were too busy. So the moral of the story is, don't play with matches. After the house burned down, we had to go and stay with my grandfather, Goodnow, who had a small house nearby. on the ranch. My other grandfather, Gunderson, who was a carpenter, came out the following week and helped my father and my other grandfather start building our new house. We laid in the cement foundation first, and as soon as that was done and the floor was over it, then we moved into there to live while the rest of the house was completed. So the story that I have to tell about the house being built is, of course, I was still trying to get my brothers to play with me, and I would chase them through all the doors and up and down the stairs. And my father had just installed a brand new door to a room. I'm running after my brother, and he's slammed the door shut on me, but he caught my little finger in the door. And I started yelling, and my father came by and opened the door, and there was my finger hanging by a thread. So he had to cut it off, and he threw it in the slop pail that was nearby. So my sister and my brother had a good time looking in the slop pail. There's Dory's finger floating around in the slop pail. My right finger did heal, but you can see they really don't match that well anymore. When the harvesting crews came to, harvest the wheat and the flax, that was fun. We had to help my mother, and she always had hired help to help her cook the meals, and we'd serve the workers out in the tool shed or wherever, or outside, I don't remember. And then when they got paid, they'd go to town and they'd bring back gifts, not for me, for my older sister Arliss, and I was very jealous, because she got the gifts and I didn't, I wanted to be outside, so my grandfather, Goodno, would let me ride on the seed sower with him while we sowed flaxseed. And I loved it when the flaxseed was harvested, because the grain would come pouring down from the combine into the bed of the truck, and I'd stand there and feel the cool flaxseed hit my legs. I still remember what that feels like.
Not around all over, kind of grew up wild. My home's wherever I may be. I'm just breezing along with the breeze, trailing the rails, roaming the seas like a vagabond.
So those were good times for me. I think we had a happy time on the farm, helping my parents raise chickens, sow the garden, and help with the cows, churn the milk. We all had our duties, and we were happy doing this. Dear Diary, yes, it sure was the longest and most beautiful day of the year. Daddy went to town this morning and came back before supper. He's going back to town tomorrow. Sure is beautiful out today. We went outside and played. P.S. Daddy gave us a little rabbit. That's the last entry I have in my journal, because after that we decided to move to northern Minnesota, where my grandfather Goodno had some timberland for us to live on. But that's another story.
I'm just going along as I please, breezing along.